I'm Allison. I'm 35. I'm from Texas, and this is my coming out story. It's a little traumatic, mainly a lot of religious trauma and homophobic trauma from my own parents. Buckle up. It's going to be a ride. I grew up Southern Baptist, and my family was very involved in our church. I never heard the word gay growing up. I didn't know what that was. I didn't even hear that word until I was 11. And I finally stopped going to private Christian schools and started going to a public school. But even then, I really wasn't sure what it was. When I was 12, I started watching Talk Sex with Sue Johansson on the Oxygen Network on Friday and Saturday nights at around 11 p.m. midnight. I had my own TV in my room, so I'd crank it down really low so I could still hear it and read the captions. That was my sex ed, real sex ed. I learned about condoms and all the birth control options and toys and heard words like transsexual and gay and lesbian and bisexual and polyamorous and swingers and all these terms that I never would have heard of until much later. But I knew early. And I realized I'd always been attracted to girls. And that was okay. That was a valid feeling. But I also grew up in compulsory heterosexuality, or compet. Compet is that idea that we live in a world that's automatically heterosexual. Your fairy tales, stories, TV shows, all of that is the prince and the princess, boy and girl, man and woman. That's it. I did not grow up seeing any two women or two men in any of the shows or anything that I was watching at all. But I had this other show, real sex ed, that was counteracting that narrative. And I'm grateful for that because I don't know where I would be otherwise. I knew my religion would never accept me, my church wouldn't accept me, and my parents sure as hell weren't going to accept me. My friends did. And they didn't care that I liked girls. When I was 13, I got my first girlfriend. And also lost my virginity to a girl. A few months later, I lost it to a boy. I felt it was easier to be with guys because of the availability, and you didn't have to really do much. Finding a girl to be with was much harder, especially in the very conservative area I lived in. Still do live in that area, but it's not the same. It's changed over the years. That being said, when I was 13, I had a girlfriend I met at camp. Wrote her a letter. My dad intercepted it, read it, confronted me about it, then burned it and said we weren't going to tell my mom and we're never going to talk about this again and just forget that idea entirely. Okay, awesome. You're not safe. Got that. But I continued to date guys and girls through middle school. When about halfway through my middle school year, my friend Chelsea had moved to Missouri and started dating this one girl named Vicky. And when her and I became best friends with Vicky, it was all long distance because Chelsea moved to Missouri. And when Chelsea's mom found out that they were dating, all hell broke loose. Her main thing was, I don't care if you're gay, but I don't care if Vicky's gay, but you're not dating her. You're not dating a girl in my house. She didn't care if anyone else was gay. I could be gay. Everyone could be gay, but not her daughter. Now, that being said, she has apologized and is now an amazing ally, and I'm grateful to her for that. Okay? She has seen the error of her ways. Well, when I was 14, my friend and I went to go get our hair cut about a week or two before school started. And I didn't tell my mom I was going to chop it all off. I just did it. Then, after I was done, I wasn't shaved like this, but it was really short, and I was able to like spike it up in the back, and I had like long bangs in the front. I was blonde. My friend and I meet my mom at a grocery store in the same shopping center. And my mom looks at me and yells at the top of her lungs, "Oh my God, you look like," and I'm going to say the words, "fucking dyke." I was 14 years old, and my mother just called me that in public. I'm 35 and it still hurts, and it's been like 2 decades. Needless to say, my hair stayed short. She just got to get used to it. Then I was 16. Chelsea and Vicky had broken up, and Vicky and I had started dating long distance. And that summer that I turned 16, like a few days after, my main birthday present was my parents letting me go to Missouri for weeks that summer. And I got to be with Vicky. Her dad was very cool. He did not care that his daughter was gay. In fact, he loved the fact his daughter was gay. She couldn't get pregnant. He treated me really nice. I'm grateful for that. I did a lot of stupid shit that summer that as a parent now I'm like, oh my God, that was not good. We needed a lot more supervision than we got. I'm just saying. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. Because that summer showed me who I am, what I am, and what I want in a relationship. Her dad had given me a used laptop to take back with me so I could actually be in contact with Vicky more. I hid that laptop for months from my mom. Then one Saturday morning at 1 a.m., she apparently saw my TV light still on, and instead of knocking to see if I had like fallen asleep or whatever, she just flings my door open at 1 in the morning. Sees the laptop, sees what I'm writing to Vicky, and loses it. Calls me every name in the book. Screaming, yelling, crying, acting like I'm killing her or something. It was insane. So I said, F it. And I started packing my backpack full of clothes and such. She's like, where do you think you're going? I'm like, I'm going to Roxy's. I've already talked to her mom. If this happens, I'm to come there. And then I'm calling Vicky's dad, and he's going to get me tickets to come up there. And I'm just going to move there because I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let you treat me this way. And I was 16. I was done. She went on and on and on. She took my phone. She took the laptop. And she didn't look at me for a few days. Neither did my dad. A few days later, she took the laptop, got me in the living room, got the big trash can from the garage in the house, snaps the laptop in half in front of me, chucks it in the trash, and goes, "We're never speaking of this again. Because if you do, you're going to camp." And she meant conversion camp. I knew if I went, horrible, horrible things were going to happen to me. It was a life or death decision for me. I knew people who had either killed themselves after going there. They had survived the camp, but they didn't survive once they came home. And I knew people who had come back and they were still flaming gay, but they just learned to hide it better from their family. And they, to this day, have horrible trauma. So I made the conscious decision to, around my family, I'm straight. I proceeded to date and then marry a man who allowed me to date women. I was with my first long-term serious boyfriend, Landreth, for 7 years. And in that time, we dated multiple women together and separately. My long-term girlfriend in that was Latina. And I did not treat her very well. I was dumb. Really, I shouldn't have been dating any guy. But it was a whole thing. But I figured this was the best compromise I could get for myself. Slowly over time, I forgot it was a compromise. And my brain went into safety mode and started gaslighting me into believing this was who I was, that I wasn't doing it as a form of protection, that I was bisexual, not a lesbian. And then I broke up with him after 7 years when I was 23. And in a 4-month time frame, I just started making my way through guys. I found that early on that BDSM was a way for me to enjoy being with a guy, but being distracted enough that I didn't just sit there, be miserable, and just grin and bear it. It was a way for me to somewhat enjoy myself. Then I met my husband. We are still married as of now. It's November 2025. As of now, we are still married. It's only been a few months. That being said, when we met, we were both bi, and he had no problem being ethically non-monogamous. And it worked. He was smart, he was nice, he was intelligent, he could cook. And I was allowed to just be me. I finally felt like I had a true safe space. 4 months in, we got pregnant by accident. The birth control failed. Found that was a whole bigger issue with the OBGYN's office that I had been seeing. And a bunch of other people ended up pregnant around the same time that they shouldn't have been from the same birth controls, the whole thing. But anyway, we got pregnant. And 4 months in, and I just said, fuck it. This works. And I loved him and cared about him, and I still do. But I was never in love with him. And that's the worst part. We got married 4 months after we met. Son was born at 32 weeks, 3-week NICU stay, lots of birth trauma. Slowly over the years, we started figuring things out and, trying to understand the whole parent thing. Our sex life just was bleh. I never was, unless it was like BDSM type stuff, I just wasn't into it. And I couldn't figure out why. Then I was like, let's have another. I want another. And we'd spent a long time trying to have her. Finally got pregnant with her. And then about a little over a year after she was born, we got a girlfriend. And we dated her together. And it was really, really great. Until we realized that despite the fact her husband's like, yeah, I don't care if you date them, whatever, we realized that the only thing he contributed to their relationship was money. That was it. That she didn't want to be with him, and that my husband and I were gap fillers for that relationship. And she made a bunch of really bad choices that I couldn't be a party to anymore, and said, I'm done. And my husband and I had a very, very hard time after that. And eventually, over the next few years, more of life happened. But I started realizing I miss enjoying sex. And we started working through things and reconnecting with that one part of our relationship and exploring things we hadn't explored before. And things were great. And then at the beginning of this year, I was like, I really need a girlfriend. I miss women. It is a part of who I am. I need it badly. There was a woman in our homeschool co-op. For the purposes of anonymity, we'll just call her Kay. Kay and I had been friends for about 5 years. We weren't super close, but I liked her. I'd been wanting to sleep with her for about a year. We'd gone to this spa together, and I was like, damn, okay, you were hot, you were gorgeous, yes. Oh yeah. And I've been dropping hints for about a year. The summer before, during my birthday party, a lot of my friends thought we were already sleeping together, and we weren't. It was hilarious. So the beginning of the year, we were at our co-op, and her and I were just walking around, and she was saying how she wanted to be, she just needed friends with benefits. She hadn't been with a woman since she came out as a lesbian during her divorce a couple years prior. I was like, I already have permission. I'm good. Let's do this. So we started off as friends with benefits. Polyamorous, pansexual, and a late in life lesbian who wasn't sure if she was still pansexual or she was still polyamorous or not. But there we were. It was supposed to be easy breezy. But things happened. Life happened. And if you've ever been in a woman-on-woman relationship, it's intense. It doesn't matter how much you say, we're not going to develop feelings. Girl, you're going to develop feelings. Bitch, you are going to develop feelings. It is intense. It is so intense, whether you want it to be or not, it is. And we started to develop feelings. And we kept talking throughout this. And we were on the same page. And then something happened for me. And I had started therapy. And a few months into therapy, I had a very intensive EMDR therapy session where I worked through the homophobic trauma of the Vicky incident as it came to be known. And after that therapy session, I felt different. The very next day, Kay took me out for my birthday after my husband had fucked up yet another birthday and or holiday with me. It's a whole separate thing of itself. But Kay showed me what I was missing, what I needed, what I wanted. And that night we did things that I hadn't done with a woman before. And that's saying a lot. I had questions that needed answered that I didn't realize I needed answered. But I got those questions answered that night. I left in that Uber with a pit in my stomach. And I'd been leaving in Ubers with a pit in my stomach on my way back home multiple times over those last few weeks. And I didn't know why. I really didn't. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Things were good between me and my husband, or so we both thought. Then the next day, he and I had some adult fun after the kids went to bed. And the whole time, I was thinking of her. I'd never done that before. I was always in the moment. Then that next morning, that Monday morning, July 28th, I remember the day. It's about 8 in the morning. I called my best friend of 20 years and just sobbed. I'm a lesbian. I'm a lesbian. I'm a lesbian. I'm imploding my marriage. It sucked. I had plans to continue in therapy for a couple of months before I told him. He was having a horrible time at work. It was bad. After I got off the phone with my friend, the kids and I met other friends at the lake, and I spent 5 hours in the hot Texas sun sobbing to the couple friends that I was with about what was going on and that I was coming out. They all supported me. All of them also going, it's about damn time. You're happier with Kay than you are with him. He's also kind of an asshole, and I'm just like, you're not telling me anything I'm not agreeing to. But we left there, and I had no intention of telling him right off. I didn't. I wanted to wait at least talk to my therapist first. Nope, that's not what happened. He walks in the bedroom, and first thing out of my mouth is, I'm so sorry. And then it just all comes out. It's been about 3 months. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He was just hurt, but not surprised. So many things from over the years had made sense in that moment for him. He has had his own issues, realizing why he made choices he did. And he's realized some things about himself that he has to work through in therapy. No one's mad at each other. We're just hurt. We're trying to figure out how to be around each other again, because something that was a deep, deep connection for the two of us is suddenly gone. I wore an everyday collar and anklet on top of 2 sets of wedding rings. And in the last 3 months, I've stopped. Kay broke up with me. It was very sudden to me. We had our first overnight, and we'd been together about 6 months. And she went from this nice, sympathetic, amazing person to, I'm just going to say it, a cold-hearted bitch. She gaslit me and tried to say that all the conversations we'd had previously about feelings and stuff, everything on her and all of it, she didn't say any of it. And just full-on gaslighting. I go to show up to get my stuff. I walk in the kitchen to go to the bedroom, and the living room's off to the side. She doesn't look at me, doesn't say anything. She does not acknowledge my existence at all. And that hurt. I get my stuff from the bedroom, and I stop in the kitchen and look over at her. She's just staring straight at her computer screen. I do not exist. I went out, put my stuff in the car, and I just sat on the hood of my car for a while, waiting for her to show up, to come out to say, I'm sorry, something, anything. Nothing. Cool. My catalyst broke up with me. So now here I am trying to figure out how to date as a 35-year-old late in life lesbian with 2 kids that I homeschool while still living with my husband. Now, due to the political climate that we're currently in, we're not getting divorced anytime soon. We can't even financially live in separate locations right now because of everything. So I'm currently seeing someone, and I really am enjoying being with her. We'll call her M for the sake of anonymity too. And M is very smart. They've been through a lot. And they're currently coming out of a bad relationship themselves. I have no idea what my future looks like. But I know right now I'm enjoying the moments that I get with M and other women. I've made it clear that I am ethically non-monogamous, and that's not going to change. And that whoever I'm with, I would love for that person to go on adventures with me and go do all these crazy, sapphic sex stuff that I've been missing out on. As a late in life lesbian, I've learned that coming out at this point in your life, it's second puberty. You want to screw anything that moves. You want to be as involved in the community as possible. I spend so much of my time learning about the history and terms and learning as much as I can. For years, I was on the outside looking in. And so you understand, there is a massive difference between bisexual and pansexual relationships and just lesbian relationships. Just straight women who only want to be with women, and there's no male outside influence involved. It's been different. And I'm loving it. I'm learning so much about myself. I realized that in the bi-pan world, I was the more mask one. But in the lesbian world, despite the short hair and the fact that I wear a bunch of guys' clothes, I'm femme. That has been another big thing, is learning that. My entire point of this is I want the younger generations to learn from this. Be who you are. Stand up for yourself. If it's not safe to be out around your family, that's fine. Do what you need to do to be safe. But make sure you have support. You have people in your life that will support you being your 100% self, but will also help you keep safe. My goal is to not be in this area anymore if I can. I want my kids and I to be somewhere safe. Somewhere, whoever I end up with, where we can walk down the street holding hands and not be looking over our shoulder. Em and I went out over the weekend, and we went to this Halloween thing, very public, and we kissed a couple times, like held hands and stuff. No one said anything, but it's still, I would look around sometimes. But then afterwards, we went to a gay bar, and we made out there many times, and we were just there. I blended in. I don't blend in. I'm short, loud, wear bright makeup, and have half my head shaved and pink hair. I don't blend in. But I did there. I want to live somewhere where no one gives a flying fuck what I do in the bedroom and with who. Because it doesn't matter. My sexuality and who I do things with is a very small part of who I am. Very small. 90% of my life, I am a boring mom. I grocery shop. I cook. I get my kids to do schoolwork because we homeschool. I got woken up this morning by my kids fighting. I'm boring 90% of the time. 10% of my life, I'm not. But that's my story. That's how I got to where I am right now. Yeah, and it's been 30 minutes. And if you've watched this, thank you. And if there's anyone that wants to say horrible comments, to say nasty things, you're being blocked and reported. We're not going to play the homophobic game on my page.